Despite Minamoto Yoritomo's grand successes, peace in Japan would not last. As an old samurai adage wisely cautioned, after victory, tighten your helmet cords. Feuding among clans would continue, and another threat, one that was not homegrown, loomed on the horizon. In the year 1274, the people of Japan faced a grave threat from mainland Asia. The ferocious Mongol regime that had conquered Korea and China over the last century was, again, looking to expand its empire. The ferocious Mongol regime that had conquered Korea and China over the last century was, again, looking to expand its empire. Its leader, the legendary Kublai Khan, wrote to the Japanese emperor informing him that the Mongols expected to receive tributes and taxes from Japan. Khan received no response. Enraged, the Mongol ruler dispatched a fleet of warships to teach the obstinate provincials a lesson.
It's the only time between the early 500s and the 20th century that Japan was invaded by a foreign power, and one of only 2 times that the Japanese warriors actually fought a foreign enemy.
The Mongol fleet set out from the Korean peninsula with hundreds of ships and several thousand men. They landed at Hakata Bay on Japan's southernmost main island. The samurai warriors sent to face them were in for a rude awakening. They confronted a very different form of battle. The samurai method of fighting during this period was somewhat ritualized and consisted primarily of mounted archery duels. Proud opponents on horseback would square off in bouts of individual combat. The Mongols, having arrived by ship, had no horses and fought on foot, many with swords and spears. They simply formed themselves into tight, powerful units and attacked. And in this battle, many of them ruthlessly speared the samurai horses. For added shock effect, they even made use of explosive devices filled with gunpowder.
So these sounds made the samurai horses panic. And so samurai had to withdraw to the capital in Kyushu.
At the end of the day, the Mongols held the battlefield, but apparently they didn't know they had won. Perhaps believing the samurai would be reinforced and attack that night, the Mongols suddenly pulled back to their ships and set sail. For now, at least, the samurai were safe. However, they feared it could happen again, so they immediately took preventative measures.
The Kamakura government basically constructed walls along every beach where sizable forces could land. And these walls that could extend for miles. They'd be about sometimes several feet high, several feet wide, and they'd be about 20 feet behind the beaches.
A good thing, because the Mongols came back. 7 years later, Kublai Khan put together an armada of several thousand ships and tens of thousands of men. The wall building paid off. This second Mongol fleet was forced to remain afloat for weeks, depleting food and water supplies, while they looked for a suitable place to land. Meanwhile, the Japanese readied themselves for a horrendous battle. They prepared to fight, and they prayed. Coincidentally, the prayer must have worked, because nature soon intervened. A storm of the century swept in and obliterated hundreds of Mongol ships.
There was a typhoon. It did hit, and it did destroy one whole fleet. I just say the typhoon was the end point of a defeat long in the making. That's how I look at it. It didn't cause the defeat, it just finalized the defeat.
This typhoon is the reason we have the phrase kamikaze today. The samurai who defended against the Mongols had prayed for assistance from their Shinto deities. Shinto is roughly a mixture of ancestor and nature worship. The warriors believed that the gods delivered the storm, so they called it kamikaze, which means divine wind.